On the first part of this session, we did episode 108 and 10 ways to grow your small business with effective marketing strategies. This is part 2 of that. Growth does not happen by accident. Too many small businesses chase tactics without building a solid marketing plan. In this episode, we break down what sustainable business growth looks like and how local business owners can move beyond short-term wins with effective marketing for small business. We discuss core components of a strong marketing strategy, including hiring and systems, building a predictable sales funnel, improving customer experience, and expanding reach without overextending your business. You'll learn why strategic planning matters more than motivation, how to reduce risks as you grow, and how to set meaningful goals that lead to lasting progress. This episode is designed to help your small business react and start planning with smart marketing. By the end, you'll have a clearer understanding of where growth really comes from and how to build a strategy that supports long-term success. He's Matt Hanson. Matt, thanks for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We're doing a continuation of our last one, and that is really, we in the last one, we kind of discussed what growth really is.
Yeah.
And how you can use marketing and marketing strategy to define it and to get involved with it. We're going to go a little further with it here. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I want to start with basically the reach, right? So the number of people that you are reaching on a regular basis. So when we look at the customers that you're dealing with, or the people that are walking into your store, or the people that are calling you for services, or whatever the business is that you're in, there's only so many people that you've reached through the day, through the month, through the year, right? And I'm kind of going through this right now with one client where they have this really outstanding product, and nobody knows about it. And we were sitting there, and we were kind of talking about it the other day, and yes, they're doing social media ads, and yes, they're posting things out there, and yes, they're sending emails to their existing clientele, and yes, they're sending emails to advertising emails and newsletters and things like that. But we were kind of stagnant, right? Things weren't growing as fast as they wanted, and I started asking the question. I'm like, well, are we hitting the same audience again and again and again and again? And so that's really what it came down to. So we said, all right, well, let's take the money that we were going to put here and let's put it into some new things. And literally within like 2 days, we 4x'd, where we were heading in terms of customers. So I was kind of laughing about it. Like, we should have thought of this a little bit sooner. And you get caught up in the day-to-day operations of a business and things like that. But just by thinking differently and going, all right, there are different audiences, there are different people, and just by realizing I haven't talked to that audience, this one or that one or whatever it is, but they are the same types of people, let's go that direction and see what happens. And immediately we saw an uptick, and that was kind of the interesting part of the week. But think about it in terms of the number of people that you're hitting on a regular basis, the number of advertising opportunities, the number of social media posts that you put out there, whatever it may be, and realize that there are still opportunities out there that you're not hitting, and your customers are out there. They just don't know who you are. We talk about that a lot, about awareness and consideration and so forth. But I had the exact same. I had coffee yesterday. I think it was yesterday, day before, with another person that was basically, they have this great product in the AI space, and nobody knows who they are. And they're under the assumption, like, okay, we're doing well, but based on what I was hearing, it's a great product, and it needs to get out there. It needs to get out to the masses. And it's more or less one of those where they're just kind of like, people will find us. And what they have to be told is, you could be so much bigger if you just put a little bit of effort into it. So that's kind of where I wanted to start today, is just expanding your reach will expand your customer base.
So is there, I guess the next question I would have on that is like, all right, I got to reinvent the wheel. Well, sometimes your competitors have done good jobs expanding their customer base. How do you look at your competitors or people in your space and learn from what they're doing?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I would say is become their biggest fan, right? So every single thing that they post online, like it, comment on it, show that you're not afraid of them. But by doing stuff like that, by following them, by visiting their stores once a month, or seeing what they're doing out there on social or at events, or what is it that they're doing, just embrace it. Watch them. I mean, some of the best competitors that I've always had were some really good friends, and it's not the fact that you're not trying to be at war with them, but realize that you can learn a ton from them and see what's working. And you may have to adapt some of the things you're doing, but follow them, understand them, comment, go to their events. I mean, they're not going to kick you out. I mean, we're all human. We all want to be liked, but I think that's something that most people don't do. They just it's that competitor, and I'm bad mouthing them and all. Don't do that. Become part of the environment that they're in, because you'll learn from them. You'll learn what works, and you'll also learn what doesn't work, and you can strip out some of those things from your own business.
So you're trying to expand the reach, and you're going to definitely look at your competitors, and you can do that. You can follow them on Facebook, all of their social media. You can see where their ads are. You can start looking, and they're doing this ad here, this ad there. You also have a ton of things you could go to. Conferences, networking events, Chamber of Commerce meetings. We have gone to a number of sports conferences and gotten a ton out of it, including TED Sports in Indianapolis. What do you say to the small business who has barely enough time to run their business, barely enough time to look at their marketing, barely enough time to do anything? What do you say to them about these aggregation of other business people getting together?
Yeah, I can keep it simple. If you're not going to these events, you're not part of your community. Pretty simple, right? So if you're not being seen out in your own community, and again, we're talking to our small entrepreneurs, the one-person kind of marketing teams, you've got to get out there. People need to see you, right? So I've been here in Northwest Indiana for years, and I've been working with different companies in this area for probably, let's call it 15 years. And there are still people that don't know who I am, that need marketing services, and that's perfectly fine. I get it, right? There are certain people that we are having conversations with, and I don't look at, I call it my farm. I'm from a farm town, so I call it a farm. The area that I'm working with is not necessarily just a 10-mile radius around, where we call home. My radius is I will jump on a plane and go meet with a client anywhere. It's not a big deal. Now, there are other people that aren't willing to do those types of things, right? But events are important. You and I went to the podcast conference that was in Chicago, right? So why would we go to that? Well, you wanted to learn more. I wanted to kind of interact with some of the people, some of the vendors, to get to understand what they have to offer. I've talked with some of those people and just getting little snippets and things like that. So, it's an ability to get kind of on a radar of your, as I call it, the farm. And if you're not out there and you're not doing these things and your competitors are doing this, they become part of the community and you don't.
Adriana, I just have a little bit of an aside there, is that Adriana's our producer, and you and I went, and we had a couple other people, but that's mainly who went. And we met with the Riverside guy. And he was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this. We're working on this AI thing. We're working on that AI." They're done with all of the things he said he was gonna do. That was 8 months ago, something like that. And we just signed up, and we got that out of going to a conference. We thought it was just kind of like a sales pitch or whatever, but we needed that information on what they were working on. And now I can do this podcast from home in a much clearer manner than I'm doing other podcasts from home on Riverside. It's helping you edit them and make.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
I just did one that you and another person did, and I remember you telling me you were a little concerned maybe the audio would be a little jumbled up. I edited the full thing. There was not a moment that it sounded like that, and maybe that's the technology that they have on their end, that when you're doing it, you kind of hear it, but when they get it all done,
they have a system in which they're basically recording both of them separately and putting them together so they can just put the AI fix on that guy's audio. He is a horrible internet, and it comes and goes during the live broadcast, but not during his taping of it. And then we can just give them a URL of an old YouTube thing, and they'll cut it up. We did this. We gave them the show from Monday, and it was a 2.5-hour show. And we said, cut out the best 10-minute segment. That was and they cut out a 9-minute and 30 minute, and it was really good. Yeah. It was no fat on the bone at all. And I'm like, we're teaching all these kids how to edit and do all this, man. The machine will just do it for everybody.
Well, here, let's take this back, right? So he went to this that was relatively a small conference.
Oh, it was very small,
right?
Yeah.
So he went there, got in touch with you. You guys have 20 plus podcasts that you're producing. I was there, met with it. I was already a customer of them before that. Met with them, talked to them. It's now being used in my classroom, right? We're running a class right now where our students are producing a podcast and running all of this social media content and all this other stuff. So that one conference that he went to, he got you with your 20-plus podcasts. He got us. I don't know how many podcasts we're going to have produced. We'll call it 5.
It's an institution, you know. Who knows where that's going to go once you get it into your programs.
Right. And so what I'm saying is that one simple conference, that one simple event that he went to has generated all kinds of new customers. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even on a local level, just by going to an event can trigger 1, 2, 3 different new customers that you might not have had before.
So where this is really going is we're talking about, yes, we go into the conferences, we learn a lot, you meet a lot of different people, but ultimately the involvement with Riverside is changing our system. And that is part of the reason that, I can't work all the time in the morning, is that we have all this technology that can help us build new systems. And we've never thought of it in those terms. Mm-hmm. But if you own a small to medium-sized business, or you work in it in management or whatever, you kind of have to think in terms of systems. You already are getting that at kind of a young age, because you're working with Matt Hanson every day.
I was going to say, it was funny. He asked in class, so who here listens to a podcast? I didn't even want to raise my hand. I listen to 20.
Yeah. But
and you're building a system. I mean, it was haphazard when we started. He's the first podcast.
He is?
Yeah, first, just my random stuff's up there, but he was the first serious podcast. We didn't have a system. Mm-hmm. Now it's a lot closer, but when the small business looks at it, and they got to look at, well, what are my systems and what are the overlapping systems, can get a little bit overwhelming. So what do you say to that business that is like, things are a little bit chaotic, a little bit haphazard. You're trying to give us systems, and it's working. But it took us a while to understand even what you wanted.
Where do I go with that one?
Beg to differ.
I think I think we're still struggling a little bit to understand that you have to take the pain points and the needs and clean them up, right? So you're talking about struggling and doing different things. Those are pain points. Those are things that you struggle with every single day. Again, working with your team, trying to get systems down for your customers, something that you can literally turn around in an hour that has usually been taking like 3 weeks to get done, right? So, and it's funny because even your own team is asking, well, but why don't we do it this way? And I keep coming back. It needs to be one way, right? So let's build it one way and stick with it, because systems are meant to be used. So I can create the best systems for a company. You can create the best systems for your company. But if nobody ever uses them and nobody takes them seriously, they're not going to solve your pain points. So from your standpoint, running a podcast, and I run stuff through Riverside, and it's literally you hit AI voice enhance, right? And it will clean up all the audio levels. It'll take out all the ums, because I know I say a lot. Click that, and it'll take all the filler words out of it. And it's stuff like that you don't want to worry about anymore, right? So if you are running, and I don't want this to be an ad for Riverside, but if you're running social media content, run it through Riverside and let it clip it up, and it will create all of these little content pieces for you. So that's solving problems. So systems should solve problems. And I always say to people, if you paid 10% to take all your problems away, would you do it? And nobody ever says no to that. But when I say, okay, well, go buy this company's product and implement it. Well, it costs $2,000. Okay. But it's taking away the problem that's causing you to slow down in your day-to-day process. So if you look at it from that standpoint, like if you could pay 10% of your salary or 10% of your revenues that you're bringing in to solve all of your problems as a business, and you can move 10 times faster, would you do it? Everyone will say yes, but nobody, I would say 95% won't implement that.
So we're at a weird time in that a lot of times in the past, implementing a system would just be kind of just getting it organized and have a better chart of where it's going. Now it's as if you could go out and apply technology that somebody else has already developed and has already made available. It's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So now the small and medium-sized business owner understands that they can, maybe they're a little bit wary of it, but if they spend the time, they can see that there's plenty of things that can get done with AI, with robotics at times, that will solve their pain points. But they have to be familiar and allow technology to come in. How do you deal with the owner who doesn't want to do that?
It's the same person that says AI is going to take my job. I hear this at least once a week from whether it's a student or it's somebody out in the field. AI is going to take my job. And what I say to them is, no, AI is not going to take your job. It's not coming. It's not knocking on your door saying, hey, give me your job. The people that understand the technology, even on the most basic level, are the ones that are going to take your job. So, for example, right, we're teaching in my class. We have this class where they have to build a podcast, content development, okay? How many people know how to build content on a regular basis? Not a ton, right?
You might have one in
Right.
your class,
Right.
and she's sitting right here.
There's a few in there, I think, that will take it and run
I'm
with it.
kidding, but I'm just highlighting the fact that it's not something that's natural to them at this point.
No, it's not.
They've got to learn a system.
So here's another example, right? So I was listening to a podcast of one that I listen to all the time, and they were talking about how you're familiar with print on demand, right? So you can upload an image, it will print on a T-shirt or a mug or whatever it may be. We can now basically go to Etsy, right? You can take and look at all the images and look at what's selling the most, and you can dissect all of that by utilizing technology to pull those images out, drop them into AI, create new images based off of the images that are selling, upload those to an on-demand service, and then it will automatically post them over to Etsy and utilize, as they call it, parasite SEO. So you're jumping on board with the SEO that Etsy already has. And it's literally just a flow that you create. you don't even have to do it anymore, right? So like the person that was talking about it was basically saying that, we used to hire 10 different designers and they would produce one piece of artwork every single day. Now they have something like 80,000 SKUs and they upload them and they look for the best ones that will produce, and they continue with those, right? But like everything is fully automated. It's a system that they've just utilized technology, and it's not even that hard to do. And they were comparing it to like the drop shipping and the Shopify stuff that a lot of kids were doing a couple years ago. But the fact that you don't even take inventory, the fact that you can literally see what's out there that's selling, that you can drop it into AI and modify and create new versions that aren't the same but are the same, and it's a one-click button that AI automatically does it. I mean, that is a system that could make you, an extra $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 a year without you even doing anything.
So you just came in, and we'll use another example. You came in with, it took you 3 weeks to put together a spreadsheet of all of the impressions that an advertiser is getting from us. Mm-hmm. There's too many angles. We've never done that, but it took you 3 weeks to do that. Are you going to be able to automate all that?
Yes, now. Because what basically it was, you have a team that was pulling data from different places, right? And they weren't, when the data starts to communicate, when the end goal is identified as this is where it's going, I think right now it was like, oh, that's where we're heading. Now it's easier to do. So, if it's pulling data out of the broadcast side or it's pulling from social, it's really just like, okay, here are the people that we have to do it for. Here's the data. Here's how that stuff is pulled out, and then just drop it in, and the template's already built. So you just duplicate it and duplicate and duplicate. So it's there. I think the aha moment was yesterday. I think Hunter even said it best. He's like, oh, all right, got it. So that's where now you see it. Now you go, okay, interesting. And I think you and I have been talking about a certain area that it needed to get to, and I think it's spot on now. And I think the crew can then drop those numbers in and really get an idea of how it's going to be efficient.
So that leads to the last part, and that's the reason I brought that up, in that, Matt's kind of directing us where we're headed with the systems that we need to build that we did not anticipate. We were blinded to just building our product, and now we're like going back at it. And many of you are going to have to do that at your business at some point. You're going to have to build your systems. But ultimately, when you start to get them built, kind of like this spreadsheet aggregation of data that he's talking about that could be automatic at some point, you have to have measurable data. You have to have measurable numbers. It's becoming easier and easier because there's more data out there, but you got to know, you can't take it all. You just take for your system, and then you have to commit to that measurable moment of data. And how do you do that? We talked a little bit about it, but
yeah, you have to decide what you're going to measure, right? So I can measure anything in the world, but is it relevant to you? So we talk a lot about social media, and people are like, oh, this got, 35 likes. Okay, what is a like? What does that mean to you, right? Is that something that drives revenue? Is that something that just keeps you relevant? Like, what are we measuring, right? So from your perspective, you're talking a new language to advertisers that you've probably never talked in the past. And it's getting the team trained on that and saying, okay, this is what you're playing in these games at this point with all these different companies, and they're looking for a certain type of communication that you may not have given to the average small business. It's a different level, right? So earlier we talked about expanding your reach, new customers, things like that. Different customers may be looking for different things. And I think that's where we had to retrain kind of like the inside to say, if you're dealing with this type of customer versus this type of customer, this new customer has new needs, new demands, but they also have a lot more money than, than you bring in from the ones that don't have the demands, right? So once we understand that and we get it into something that you can literally mass produce relatively quickly, it becomes easier, right? So we have to train our brain to do different things. It's the same thing with a business. You have to train the business to do things efficiently. So something that took us a while to kind of like figure out where it was going to go, what it was going to look like, is now very simple, where you can turn it over to a hunter and say, hey, can you pull the reports for these 3 companies and have them by the end of the day? He can do that now that he's got this system in place.
So he's Matt Hanson. I'm Jim Deedlow. We're recording this and near the end of or middle of January of 2026. But of course, the fundamentals can be the same in 2 to 4 years or whatever. It's so odd that during this podcast, I forgot that the HVAC guys, my buddy, is coming to my house right now, and I got the text from him, but I want to apply some of this stuff to his business. We're going to run out of time on what you can measure and what the 1 or 2 variables in each business are really. Certainly in our business of providing advertising for a sports network on TV, cost per 1,000 impressions is the standard.
Right.
Now, it's not the only one you want to use, but a lot of people, it's easy. If you've got a good CPM, you can get in the door of a lot of places. Right. In your business, it can be a lot different, but you need to find out what those standards are. And you can say, oh, that's just for the big guys. Well, not anymore. It's all. We're a little guy, and Matt's showing us how to get to the data points that can provide that same kind of information that the big guys can provide. And that would be the application of systems and then figuring out within those systems which ones you're going to measure. Yep. It's really kind of interesting. Any final comment?
I would say go back, look at everything we covered in the last 2 episodes and kind of audit your company and say, I'm gonna focus on 1 or 2 of these things over the next month or 2. I think just by doing that, you're going to uncover some things. Go check out your competitors. Go see what they're doing. Go introduce yourself if you don't know each other. Go to lunch. Just go have some conversations. You're going to learn a lot about business, whether it's from your business or their business, but just audit something. Just start to look into it.
All right. I hope you like these 2 segments. This is episode 109, the second part of 10 ways to grow your small business with effective marketing strategies. Please go find Mastering Local Marketing, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get us on YouTube. If you go to, just type it in and you'll find the same thing, but it's under the WJOB 1230. Thanks a lot to Adriana Alvarez. She is the 22-year-old wunderkind behind all of this. Until next time, we'll see you later.